Lorenzo Alexander is here, and Zoe, you look at Jacksonville, and Wolf and I were talking about this earlier in the week. They have a good record. They're in a playoff spot.
Right.
They've got two good running backs. Huge bounce back year by Trevor Etienne, and now the production from Bashal Tutin as a backup is fantastic as well. Trevor Lawrence, though, hasn't really been that amazing this year, and they keep winning. So defensively, how would you attack this team?
And I think you kind of said it right there, right? Put the game in Trevor Lawrence's hands, right? Make him beat you. But before we even start there, right? We're transitional technicians in this building, right? And so when you play on one of those units, especially when you think about punt and kickoff, those are also part of the defense, and it's an extension. So let's start there and making sure that we're setting the tone as transitional technicians and being the hammer and not the nail.
That's right.
When we kick the ball off or we punt the ball.
Not let a 98-yard return.
Exactly,
okay,
right.
Good start.
Let's make sure, because most of those dudes are on defense, right? Yeah. They may be backup linebackers or whatever, but you're an extension of the defense. You need to come down there and make sure that we're setting the tone so then we're coming out on the field with that type of energy, not like, oh, damn, we in the red zone already?
Yeah.
We don't want that feeling. So let's start there. And it does make a difference because I've been around a lot of teams. When you get a big hit, a big, inside the 20, 25, whatever the new number or line is now in the new dynamic kickoff, we got to make sure that we set the tone there. Then that's where we want to, then we get into the actual defense, right? And that is, I think, stopping the run early, right? Getting them behind the sticks, getting some tackles for loss. We've seen Walter Nolan show up multiple times, right? Want to see Calais, want to see more Darius Robinson in the backfield, making these running backs have to jump cut early. Let's get them down. And then force Trevor Lawrence to win the game. Force Trevor Lawrence to convert on 3rd and 15s, 3rd and 12, some of these longer known passing downs, and see if he can consistently do that. Because as you alluded to, he hasn't been awesome all year. So let's force it in. Because last week, I think they ran the ball 47 times.
Yeah.
Right? We completed 47 passes. They ran the ball 47 times. So it's just that's what they're believing in, right? And when you have that high rep value, when you talk about running the football and you have a former number 1 overall pick, you're saying this is who we are.
Yeah.
So if you can stop that, nip it in the bud, and remove, and they're going to get the yards, but then prevent the explosives, because that's what they did last week versus the Chargers had a lot of big explosives in the run game, in the zone run game. Got to be able to fit those things up. Got to have penetration by the defensive line and put this game in Trevor Lawrence's hands.
Yeah, that's the one thing the Jaguars, they really do. Well, I shouldn't say the one thing. They do run the ball pretty well. Top 10, as a matter of fact, in terms of rushing yards per game. Right in the middle of the pack in terms of rushing yards per play. But for the most part, they are capable of running the ball. They've got a revamped offensive line that's really playing well. But they don't really throw the ball well. And one of the reasons why they don't, I think, is because of Trevor Lawrence and the fact that he is either hit or miss. It's almost like all or nothing.
Yeah.
When it comes to giving pressure, bringing pressure against him, he either handles it well or he does not. But it's interesting to watch Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And he's got a quarterback rating under 80, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, when you watch him,
well.
he doesn't look confident. He looks like he's hitching a lot.
Yeah.
And then he looks like he's almost guiding the football when he throws it. It just looks weird and awkward, watching a guy where maybe a little bit early in his career looked more confident.
Right.
So that's where you want to start. Put the game in his hands, but you got to earn the right to put it in his hands by stopping the run early. I really like what I saw out of Cody Simon last week. I think he grew as the game went along, and getting those reps, was one of the leading tacklers, if not the leading tackler in the game. And so he's going to have to come up big, be able to fit a lot of the zone scheme. They actually look and I think I don't know if the offensive coordinator is connected to Shanahan at all, but a lot of the zone schemes, motioning, getting guys to move, and then they're coming back and the running back is bending it back or cutting it across the grain and hitting downhill. It's a lot of things that they have seen. So hopefully that these last couple of weeks will allow them to play better because they've seen teams that like to run zone run game. So it should help them.
when you have a team where Travis Etienne's having a huge bounce back year, like last year he was just kind of, whatever, but the 2 previous years in his career, he went over 1,000 yards. He's going to go over 1,000 yards again this year. And then you have this rookie in Bashal Tutin who comes in, very similar builds, maybe not the exact same style of running back, but very similar build. But when you're facing a team that has 2 healthy running backs that are running as effectively as they are, how much tougher does that make that as a defense, especially if you're trying to do what you're saying, get the running game stopped so they have to throw?
Right. So the runs are going to be similar. It's just about how they run. And I haven't watched enough to really study if they're drastically different. For example, if one was like LaShawn McCoy and the other one was like Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
Different guys, but both effective. And so that makes it harder because now when you go to wrap a guy up, is he going to be physical with me or is he going to try to break me down in the hole?
Yeah.
And that's what you have to study, the little intricacies as a linebacker, especially, or a safety when you're coming from the second level. What does this dude typically try to do? Is he a stiff arm guy? Is he a guy that's going to cut? Is he a guy that's going to lower his shoulder and try to run me over? Just so that you prepare when you're going to make that tackle, you're sound and comfortable with what you're going to have to do in order to get him down.
When you think of some of the keys for the Arizona Cardinals, what is the number one key of this game as you see it?
Prevent big plays. I mean, the explosive
period.
plays, especially from a defensive standpoint. I think offensively we've been able to move the ball down the field. I think just converting in the red zone and some of the crazy stuff that's happening down there, it's almost like they flip. Like last year, we would give it up and then stop people in the red zone, right? Now this year, our offense is moving it down there and can't get it in. It's like a weird thing that's happening with that. But I would say, when you look at that first drive with the 49ers last week, right, when they came down, the second drive, not the first one, they started at like the 5-yard line.
Yeah, it was just here's off to Christian McCaffrey at 7-0.
It was some of the route schemes that were attacking their coverages, whether the safety and the corner were not on the same page. When we had, I forget who it was, we had a linebacker out on George Kittles, and he ran like just a fade route and just ran right by him. He wasn't sure what he was going to run.
Yeah.
Right, touchdown, just wide open shot play. You're not going to win a lot of football games if that's occurring consistently over and over and over again. And that's what happened in that game. It just seemed like somebody was always open shots down the field, and it seems like they're not in position to make plays. You, as a coach, I'm cool with a physical play. All right, this dude was just better than you on this play. But when you mentally put yourself in a bad position or not breaking on things or haven't communicated well, that's when you start losing your hair as a coach. And that's why, again, you have to practice this at full speed and practice so that you can communicate. Because if we just walking through and it's a jog through, I got it, right? Wolf, we've been around those. Yeah. You say walk through, you have to really make sure, if you're going to have walkthroughs, you have to almost make it game tempo. So what we used to do, again, because I understand guys are hurt, and JG, they're making this assessment based on what they would do. The defense would turn their back to the offense that was coming out the scout team. And they would break the huddles, line up, and then they would say, turn around. And then we would have to communicate, get lined up, and then here they come pretty quickly, just to create the stress of a game, like, right? Just some little things like that.
Never heard that before.
That allows you to create that stress in practice, especially if you're doing a walkthrough, right? Yeah. And they pretty much quick snapping us, and we had to communicate and get lined up and all those things. So I think there's little things that you can do to help yourself if you have to do walkthroughs, to mimic being stressed in some way or fashion from a mental standpoint, so that these things don't continue to show up throughout a game.
Yeah, that's smart. They just create that sense of urgency,
right,
even if you're going to do the walkthrough. The other part, since you said they've kind of flipped from last year, they've also flipped from this season because they were starting really well the first 8 games, and now they're starting games down 35-0 or down 13-0 5 minutes in. So I don't know what the solution is there, but hopefully they find it before Sunday.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.